So we are at Lit Cigar Lounge.
This is a cool spot.
Yeah, they've been really cool. This place can get really packed, and so we came out here the other day to test some things out. They're really cool about us recording. The ambiance in here is kick-ass.
Yeah, it's great.
Too. So big shout out to them for letting us do all of this. But yeah, obviously we're out here together. We've been talking once every couple weeks.
This is
weekly
a cool
now, you know.
Yeah, this is a cool impromptu. You know, we talked about marketing and how we overlap. We do a lot of the same similar things. You know, you have a great handle on SEO, stellar. You know, that's something that our firm does, collecting heads. But man, your layout for how you approach it, you see. I know you see them. All those ads that are like SEO is dead, and everyone's running this like anti-SEO campaign right now, which I don't know why, because when you're looking through smaller towns like St. Louis and you're just looking up websites, we did an audit on one the other day, and it's like, oh man, like they've clearly done no SEO whatsoever, and it needs all these different things. But I'm interested to see, you know, where the gaps are, where you overlap and I overlap, and we can fit in together. And I just enjoy talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too.
Pleasure.
I think the interesting thing that you bring up is like all these ads that we're seeing now about like, you know, SEO's dead and everything like that. And I think the reason why those are so effective right now is because it's exactly what everyone wants to hear.
Yeah, you don't need it. Oh, okay, good news. You don't need to do the thing that you need to do.
So for the longest time, SEO's been around like hardcore for a little bit, and even when I got into it, it was pseudoscience.
Yeah.
It was there's nothing really to this. If you want to show up on Google, it's all random. Run ads.
There's nothing you can do to help your cause. Just run ads. You'll be fine.
Exactly. But as we've seen over the past few years, SEO's still running strong, but no one's still doing it. And every single day, there's more and more people just kind of getting worn down by the message, okay, I'm advertising, I'm promoting, I'm doing all this stuff, and nothing's working.
Mm-hmm.
But so like more kind of dropping like, okay, maybe I need SEO. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to invest in this. And then all of a sudden someone comes out and goes, okay, well, all these people are going towards SEO, so I'm going to start running ads saying I don't need SEO.
Yeah.
You don't need SEO. And then that person's going to see that ad and they're going to go, okay, finally, I'm going to give them my business because they clearly know what they're talking about.
There's some weird ads going on in the everyone's a marketing master right now. Like everybody has an online course, everybody does that, and it's kind of, it can be taxing as a business owner, I'm sure, seeing all the things and being pulled in all these different directions. I saw an ad the other day where this guy is literally like has a whiteboard out and he's saying, you don't need to pay someone to run your ads. If you just ran your ads, like how much are you paying your ad guy? And she's like, oh, like 27 grand a year. That's 27 grand in your pocket.
Right.
If you just lay that, you know, it's just like, okay, well, if I'm a carpenter or if I own a construction company, if I just build the house myself, I don't have to pay anybody. That's money in my pocket.
Right.
That's crazy. That makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm trying to get a handle on what is real inside the ad space, because as a business owner, I don't know if you do this, like I'll see an ad like that and I'm like, all right, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe we don't need SEO. Let me click on this and see what the heck is up, which they're baiting me, it's working.
If I changed my business strategy every single time I saw a potential ad that like told me I was doing it wrong, I would have about 50 different business strategies. I mean, there is something to be said, like the people who come out with these ebooks and online courses and things like that, they're effective. They really, really are, because you just can give like general information about a topic, a few nuggets of things that like people might have not thought about. But the thing is that the content is never anything that like I can't find online that someone's giving away for free. The thing is, these people want me to pay them $5,000 so that they can tell me all this stuff, and they basically hold me accountable. I think a lot of times that's what these courses are, is accountability. It's someone sitting there and saying, hey, are you doing this? Or make sure you get this done. And some people do need that. The nice thing is that like you have people like me and you who are connecting and we're getting together and we're holding each other accountable.
That's the accountability, yeah.
You know, in a business partnership, instead of me holding you accountable or vice versa because I'm making money off of you. And I think that's kind of the difference, and like the reason why sometimes these online courses, they work, but you know, not necessarily for everyone.
So I've asked you this before, and I think I have a good handle on your strategy when it comes to SEO, when it comes to like meeting a new client. You meet a new client, they want to do SEO. How are you approaching them with managing expectations? Because I know from our standpoint, that's one of the hardest things of, hey, we're going to charge XYZ for our services and we're going to do ABC to your platform, and you know, they're expecting 2 months to go by and for their entire business to flip upside down, and if it doesn't happen, it's like, hey, we're going to cut you loose, nothing's working. Yeah. So when you approach with such a large, you know, really in-depth look at SEO, because yours is far more inclusive than ours as far as like how deep you go into the SEO. I thought we have surface level. After I looked at your entire layout, I was like, dude, we need to. I was like, I'm just gonna send my people to you because you're doing it better. Like, we'll continue to do film, we'll run our studio, we're gonna do the other stuff. People ask about SEO and we're like, yeah. Let me get it's Mad. What's the
Madman Marketing.
Madman Marketing.
Yeah, Mad is my initials, Michael Anthony DiMaria.
Gotcha.
And so I've just kind of branded that whole realm, which, speaking of SEO, is a really funny one, because when I originally trademarked the brand and we're getting the website and everything like that, I'm going head to head against a Mad Men marketing agency. That's everything that I'm competing against SEO-wise is Mad Men marketing agency, except for one aspect, SEO.
Yeah.
Madman SEO, I show up and I get the traffic over that place. So it's like...
Well, like I said, it's so in-depth in the way that you're approaching it. So when you approach a client, how do you manage those expectations of...
Right.
How are you setting them up for what to expect as they run into your SEO program?
So a lot of times what I'll do, especially if it takes this long in like the sales process, but even if I don't have to do this, like a lot of times I'll just do an initial audit of their site, very surface level. Here's what I'm seeing on your site, here are your rankings, here are some potential issues.
Kind of like we did the other day with the one that we pulled up. Like okay.
Exactly.
I'm not going to put them on blast.
Yeah.
You know who you are. I emailed you.
If you're working with me, you know who you are. So there was just an initial surface level audit to monitor performance, and so I can show like some key insights as to why you might not be performing super well. The difference is, like, so when I do SEO, I also include user experience into it, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. If you have a bad user experience, it doesn't matter how many keywords you have, it doesn't matter how fast your site is, people just aren't going to go to your site.
Because I can show up and I can hate my experience, or I can not find what I'm looking for.
Right.
And
those bounce rates and that amount of time that people are missing on your site will be a signal to Google that people don't like your site.
Now, if someone's watching this, they don't know what a bounce rate is.
Yeah, so a bounce rate is when someone comes to the site and how many of those people come to the site and then immediately leave.
So they're literally bouncing off the site.
Right.
So they come in, they land.
It's
they
like
can't,
a trampoline.
Yeah, they can't find what they need immediately, or I used to have this gal who worked with me who used to say, they wanted peanut butter and we were selling crackers. Like cracker and peanut butter definitely go together, but they didn't find exactly what they were looking for, so they left.
Right. And so that's kind of a lot of what we're looking at when we're looking at the SEO and user experience and how they interconnect. What I always say though is anybody can give you a surface level audit. I could go out there, I could spend $75 for an in-depth SEO tool, and I can sell 5 audits a month where I don't have to do much work. I just plug in the site, I print out the report, and then I send it to the client.
Here you go.
For $100.
Yeah.
I can make a lot of money off of that.
Yeah.
The problem is what do you do with that? And
so
that's
I have this data, now what?
Exactly, and that's where I come in, and I think sometimes these audit platforms also don't tell the full picture. So like where everybody is looking at it from a very surface level standpoint, I'm down in the trenches and in the tunnels, and I'm able to see everything else that might be affecting what's going on, because a lot of times it's a lot deeper than just the number of keywords or your page speed that's making your site not rank.
The one we were looking at the other day, you even said like, hey, this person probably doesn't know this, but they have pictures that are too large and they're loading way sooner than they need to load. Like their load time needs to be staggered and not loading right away. Like you were given some great feedback within minutes of doing the audit.
Well, because a lot of times people are constantly relying on sites like WordPress and Shopify to take care of everything for them. Now, these sites are great.
Awesome. Turnkey.
Exactly.
If you don't know what you're doing and you don't have someone like us, an agency like yours or mine, perfect. Do that.
Exactly. But the sites are always going to prioritize their own code over everything else that you have going on. So a lot of times you could do everything right in regards to image size, keywords, everything, but all of a sudden your site is just slightly still too slow. And the reasoning for that is because there's all this extra code at the top that is loading before it even starts loading the images, because Shopify thinks, well, we need to make sure we load everything in the background so when the user does stay on the site, they have a great experience.
Everything readily available.
Exactly. And there's something to be said for that, but if I just move the code down a few notches,
it's still going to operate.
It's still the same experience, just the user sees something better. It's just everybody's biased towards their own code in the SEO world, and so you need someone sometimes to go in there and say, and basically provide a hierarchy of how you want your site to run.
So I'm a client. I just heard that spiel. I'm like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about. What can I expect in my first, well, I guess a better question is, do you have a time that they have to work with you? Is there a minimum? Is there a maximum? Or
No.
So I can do this for 1 month, come in, what's going to change? What can I see immediately?
Yeah, so usually within that first month, I will tell you everything you need to know, so that if you don't like me, say we don't mesh super well.
That's why I hang out with you.
The first month, there's not, right. There's not much that's going to be involved where I'm working directly with your site necessarily. The first month is making an exhaustive list of everything that could possibly be changed, optimized, or don't touch this type of checklist. And at the end of that month, if you say, I appreciate this, we're going to try to tackle this internally, we're going to, we'll let you know if we need help, or, hey, we just didn't work together, thank you, peace out. I love those. Sometimes those type of relationships are great, because the audits, they're not easy, they're super in depth, but at the same time, like, everybody wants the ability to do it on their own. And I've never been one of those people to set up services in which you are stuck with me. You know, I don't, when it comes to SEO specifically, I don't always sign on for contracts. The only time I'll ever do an extended contract is if they say, we want you to do this to our site.
Yeah.
We want you to fix these items that you specified on the site, because that's where you'll get the most value. Because SEO is not, it's not a cheap product if you're doing it well. And if you want me to fix everything within a month, like, I mean, depending on the size of your site, if you have hundreds of pages on your site and you want me to fix everything,
not happening.
That could be you could be dropping $10,000 within that first month, and that's not what you want to do.
No.
Wouldn't it be easier if you just gradually had me work with you throughout the year and extended all of that out? Like, that's usually what I like to recommend, because the results aren't immediate.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I was asking that question, because we ran into, when we first started doing SEO, we ran into this problem of, hey, we want to do SEO. I'm like, great. This is what it's going to look like. I did my best to manage expectations. I always tell people, this is a long runway to take off. You know, if you're looking at ad generation, 2 to 3 months, we're cooking. With SEO, it's a slow burn. We're looking at 6 to 8 to 12 months before you're like, wow, it's been a year and the traffic has exponentially changed within a year because of these key metrics, because of the bounce. Because of our user experience, because we have, you know, done all this research and now we have different keywords that we're using, because we've got our pixel now and we didn't have it before, like all those things. Our philosophy is not that we want you to be stuck with us, but we actually have a minimum 6 months, because we're a fairly cheap SEO, right? Comparatively speaking, because there's companies out there that do more in-depth like you do, and it's a higher ticket than we have. But we kind of slowly chip away at those problems, and we don't want you to do it with 1 month for us and then not see any results within a month, and then go tell other people that we don't do good work. Right? It's like, oh, those guys, you know, they did SEO for me and nothing really happened. Right? And then 6 months down the road, the runway starts actually taking hold of the stuff that we did, and they think, they're like, oh, internally traffic has picked up. You know, it's like a running joke within our inner team. We'll run an ad set for a client, and we'll be like, all right, dude, we drove some traffic, here are the numbers, and the client sometimes will say, I think we're just having a good month. I was like, and it's like,
that's classic.
It's just like classic client.
Well, you work a lot with nonprofits.
I do.
And if you work with nonprofits, you know for a fact, especially around times like, you know, Giving Tuesday was recently, you know, when people are getting donations to help their company run, there's always like, they'll give you credit for as many $5, $10 donations as possible, but all of a sudden you get like a $3,000 or $10,000 donations, and then they're like, oh, well, we were expecting something like that because of this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, you better know the exact person that sent that donation, otherwise that's my user, dude.
Well, it's funny because there's a tough thing that comes with working for nonprofits and being a man of faith. A lot of our nonprofits are faith-based, right? And I never want to steal money or take money that we didn't earn, right? So one of the tools that we started doing is we started retroing. So like, let's say we got a new nonprofit, and what we do with nonprofits is Google, you know, if you're watching this and you have a nonprofit and you're not using Google grants to get free advertising, like you're messing up. Like, go.
Wait, so explain that, because I'm not even 100% sure what that is.
So Google will give any nonprofit, any 501c3, free money up to $10,000 of credit a month to spend on ads. Now there's a couple different types of Google ads, but one of them is push ads, meaning you can push ads to particular people. And the other one is search generated, meaning people are already searching for this and you want to put the ad in front of the general search.
Okay.
That's what Google will let you do as a nonprofit. They'll say, people are already searching for this. Let's put you at the top of the list and put your ad in front of the general searches.
That's crazy.
And that's a great place to be. And they'll let you do that. And there's some parameters. You really gotta, if they give you a 6-lane highway to run paid for ads, when it's credit, it's like a 1-lane road, right? So 1-lane road, you can only run ads like this, but it is free money, right?
Right. Why wouldn't you?
So
why wouldn't you take it? I think 10K in ads is even with a lot of restrictions is going to get anybody.
It's great
traffic. Yeah.
What we do is we help nonprofits actually sign up for that if they don't know how to do it. Super easy. You can do it on your own. But then, because it's very hard to spend the money once you get it, we help them optimize and spend the money. And nonprofits don't think of their business as a business. They think of their business as people giving us donations. That's their revenue stream. Like you said, they have one. How do you guys make money? Well, people give us money so we can go on mission and do our thing, right? Whatever that thing may be. Our job is to go in and say, okay, you have one revenue stream. That's not great for business. You need 4 or 5 revenue streams, and we're gonna sit with you on a weekly basis with your creative team, and we're gonna help you create other assets to bring in more cash. Even if that's writing a book. One of our nonprofits right now, we sat down and our goal for 2024 is for them to write a book. I'm like, okay, so we're going to help you brainstorm. We're gonna put down all the different ideas that we have for this book on paper. You guys are gonna pick a direction. We're gonna skeleton the book for you, meaning I'm gonna give you an outline. I'm gonna give you the chapters, because we're a whole creative agency. We don't just run ads.
Yeah.
We make film. We do all. We release children's books. We do a bunch of different things. So that's really our forte. We love the creative. So we'll sit down and we'll skeleton your book for you, and then you go write it, you know? And then we'll help you publish it. We'll help you get it out there. We'll help you get it on Amazon. And that's another revenue, another stream, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where we specialize with nonprofits. But to kind of circle back to the original point, was we go retro with nonprofits and we look at the last 5 years of donations or the last 5 years of whatever they were doing, and then we do an average, and then we look at what we did this year, and we only want the growth. So if we did, if your nonprofit did 10 grand in on average of 5 years, and that was your average, and we did 15 grand, then we want credit for the 5 grand over 10.
I think that's fair.
If that's your average. And that's really helped ease the minds of our nonprofits of like, okay, the things that we're doing and have been doing great for the last 5 years of existence, we're still getting credit for, and then anything above and beyond, we get to put a little feather in our cap, like boom, we're doing that.
Right, and I think that's actually a really cool business model to go off of, because there's a lot of different, and this is just specific to the ad industry in general, there's a lot of different providers out there that when they get hired on, they will just retarget the hell out of every user that goes to the site, and then they're driving revenue, and then depending on what type of ads you're using, you'll say, see, our ad platform says we brought in 93 conversions over the past 6 months, and it's made you this much. But like your nonprofit is saying, yeah, that's what we're expecting.
We normally have 97 conversions a year.
We normally have
right?
like 100. Yeah, so like we're kind of expecting that. If you took away all those conversions, we actually had it down 6 months or 3 months or whatever. And as marketers in general, focusing on the net new is very, very important.
Yeah.
Like we've averaged so much out of the past 5 years. We want credit for the new revenue that we bring in, the new users that we bring in. It's so important to focus on that and drive that home, especially with potential clients, because anybody, there's so many scams out there right now of people just mass shooting out ads because of attribution is very, very generous towards people running like display ads and social ads and everything like that. So that's an awesome business model that, it's funny, might not always drive the most business, but at the end of the day, it kind of makes you feel good at what you're doing, especially with working with nonprofits.
Especially with a nonprofit, you know, when
specifically nonprofits.
Yeah, when they have a win, I don't think we're working with anybody that's a nonprofit that we're not excited about what they do. That we're not jazzed up about, you know, if it's either aligning with our core values or it's driving into an area that is just wholesome, right? I'm thinking of one in particular. We have a nonprofit out in Sacramento that does tech for building video games, right? And my heart goes out to those guys because it's a lot. I'm a musician by craft or trade, you know. I ended up in the marketing game and the web building game because it's tough to make it as a musician, right? Well, the video game market is very similar. Like, you have to not only build your game, but then you got to get someone to buy it. Right? And then you get someone to pay for development. And there's, just like a song, there's thousands of dollars that go into the song, and then there's thousands of dollars that go into the music video, and then there's thousands of dollars that go into marketing, and no one can still hear it, right? And it can go nowhere. Video games are a lot like that. And so the fact that there's this nonprofit helping people, young kids in Sacramento, get into game development and bring their games to life and get them in front of different companies that they can pitch their game to and show, and it just really fits within, you know, my heart of a creative. It lines up, even though I don't know nothing about video games, other than I like to play them a little bit, right? It still lines up with this great cause that we can get behind, and when they get a win, we're just like, yeah, that's awesome.
And that's so cool because, on the one hand, first of all, the video game industry is completely exploding right now, and mixed in with the like coding and development side of things, where that's going to be the future of all jobs. Basically, the majority of jobs are going to be in development and code. Like, I don't know, you know, when you apply for marketing jobs in the, you know, W-2 field, there's always a little thing at the bottom that says, oh, also if you know like HTML or code, like
let us know.
That's a plus. And it's like, okay, I get that, because that's kind of where everything's going now. And it's really cool to see, like, helping kids and helping people in general just know, like, hey, do you have a passion? You know, you can actually make money off of your passion.
Yeah. Where do you see AI in the next, like, affecting, because that's a question I get a lot from clients. They'll say, you know, we do cheap SEO, but that's our loss leader for sure. When we do SEO, we're losing money. We're not making money. But when we're building websites, like, we're not cheap. You can definitely get on Fiverr and get a cheaper website. But they're using AI, right, to build those websites. Or they're using a template, or they're cookie cutting, you know, something to build the website and do it. Hey, get a website for $500, landing page. For sure, that's not us. You know, we're a higher dollar, a higher ticket. So where do you see AI in SEO and the things that we do where AI is starting to step in? And again, it's like those ads that you see, you know, don't pay someone for a quality website, because you can get a website done for free by AI. Like, check this out,
Yeah.
you know? And so where do you see that taking our field? Luckily, we both do a lot, you know, podcasting and creative and SEO and web build. Like, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But where do you see AI stepping in, and what are your concerns, and what's your approach to combating those objections when you talk to a client? You know, I got a client watching right now, and they're like, I don't need SEO. I got an AI tool I use for that. Like,
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
AI is really interesting right now, because everybody says that they have AI, and it's not always AI. There's a few different kinds of AI. There's like web crawlers that interpret the data. There's language learning models that basically they crawl the data, but they're able to interpret exactly what something on a particular web page is talking about, how people feel about it, and the type of people that go to those pages. Then there's also the AI that basically, you know, there's websites out there that can create websites using AI.
Yeah.
But there's AI involved because it's based on your inputs. It can dynamically pull assets to create an overall website. But it's, I can never think of a good way to describe this, but it's almost like a choose your own adventure book. Where
I remember those. I always used to die.
Yeah,
super,
right.
super quick. Dude, I never made it past, like, I was like, jump off the cliff. It's like, and you've broken your legs.
Exactly.
And now you're dead. Well, that sounds about right.
So when you start the book, it can go in a million different directions. But at the end of the day, if I flip to the back page of the book, that page doesn't change.
Yeah.
The content on that page doesn't change. It just is a difference on how I get to that content. And I think that's what a lot of people that are saying we have AI, that's what's happening, is they have a set bits of content already kind of parsed out that based on the questions that you answer and based on the inputs that you put in, it's going to pull those pieces of content.
So basically you end up with a similar story from someone else. Like, you end up with similar items on your page. You end up with similar copy. You end up with very similar video assets.
Right.
I saw something today. So we're doing we have a spec shoot for a distillery out in Texas. We're going to shoot it here in St. Louis. But the theme is Bad Santa, right? And we're going to do some Bad Santa. It's a whiskey brand. They got some bourbon. We're going to do some really cool stuff with that.
Okay.
And so I'm looking up photo assets for our mood board so I can give it to our photographer and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. And when I looked up Bad Santa, I think it pulled up a Canva picture.
Okay.
And we use Canva, right? We use it for
I mean, if you aren't using Canva, you're silly at this point.
We don't use it for a lot of copy. We try to do, not copy, but photo assets.
Yeah.
We try to do 90% of what we put out photo is like original,
custom,
stuff, custom. We work directly with brands to, you know, we have brands on retainer where we're shooting every single month. Like, those type of massive asset creation. But I saw this picture of this elf stealing something out of a bag, you know, like Santa's bag. And I kid you not, I have seen that same picture on like 7 or 8 ads in the last week.
Because it's not, the assets aren't original.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing, is I think when it comes to video creation, image creation, certain types of content creation, AI right now is not beating humans.
Yeah.
Humans are creating a simple and easy way to let other people that don't necessarily know what they're doing or that are just trying to do things quickly to create content fast.
They can keep up for now.
Exactly. And I think there is a time and place for things like that. But I don't think AI in general is there. Where I think AI is exceeding is identifying human behavior and identifying what people are interested in and what they're reading and creating basically like different user profiles off of that. Like, cause like you have like ChatGPT and Claude and Bard and things like that. And all it's doing is, it's actually really cool. It's interpreting the word and saying what's the most likely word to come after this.
Yeah.
And so it's usually all original. It's the monkey with the typewriter. It's never going to create the exact same string of words for multiple people. It's always going to be a different string of words.
Yeah,
because
depending on the prompt that you give it.
Exactly.
Which makes it nice for, I use it for our initial creative. So we have a process in our creative team, we call it poop on walls. So you're just throwing ideas out and you're seeing what sticks, like what you like. So we'll use ChatGPT for poop on walls.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we have this client, we need 40 ideas for, we'll put all the prompts in there, who they are, whatever, and we're like, give us 50 ideas of things that we, a direction we can go. And then ChatGPT will pull out 50 ideas.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like garbage. Ooh, that's cool. All right, let's take that. And then that will spark something in you, and you'll pull an idea that's not on there, like, oh, we could run in this direction. What if we did this? Oh, and then the team starts off each other, and we'll use ChatGPT just to get us started, to get you past that awkward fog of when you sit down in a creative meeting. Where do we start? And everyone's kind of silent. And like it takes one brave soul to be like, throw out the first really, really bad idea.
That everybody just completely
like,
shits
that
on.
That is horrible. That's the worst. And I try to be that guy. I'm like, what about this? And sometimes my team will be like, man, what are you talking?
Like, what else do you guys?
Hey man,
what do you guys have going on?
It's poop on walls. I'm trying to get stuff out there, right?
Right.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to break the ice, but oh my man, thank you so much. But ChatGPT does a really good job of breaking that ice, putting your ideas down there, and then I use it for research too. So we'll use it for, we have a project coming up, and I needed to get a list of, I think it was like every president we've ever had, right?
Okay.
I didn't pay attention in school, and I didn't know the list, so I was like, I need ChatGPT. I need every U.S. president that has ever held office, ready, go. And it would, boom, generated the list. It did leave off Trump.
Interesting.
Because ChatGPT's woke. It eliminated him.
That's really interesting because ChatGPT is, it's supposed to be 2021.
Yeah.
Is when it scoured 2021, but anything after 2021, which
well, it had
really
Biden on there, but it skipped. What was he? 45?
He was 40.
Yeah, I think it was 45. So he skipped 45, and it just went 45. And we went 44, 46, and I even asked it, and I said, I typed in, "Is there a reason you didn't count Donald Trump?" And it shot back, most don't consider Donald Trump to be a legitimate president. And I was like, oh, bro, it's woke.
I can explain what's going on there.
Okay.
I don't think that's so much as ChatGPT being woke as it is
curating what's on the internet.
So basically how these models learn is it has a general idea of what's going on. So like, for example, a good way to say this is, a lot of people started using ChatGPT and some of these AIs for coding.
Yeah.
And so they would say, how do I make this happen? It would spit out a bit of code, and then people would take that code, they would test it, and it would work or it didn't. And for the people that it didn't work for, they would then say, hey, that didn't work. And then ChatGPT would say, oh, okay, and then spit out another bit of code, and it would work or it wouldn't. And what I think what is happening there is it's almost like bad data. And this also kind of shows the limitations of some AI and some language learning models in that way, is that there were enough people that typed into ChatGPT oh, he's not a real president.
Exactly.
That ChatGPT then learned, like no one coded that into ChatGPT.
Agreed.
ChatGPT learned, okay, well, a decent enough people do not consider this guy to be a president, quote unquote.
That I should at least mention it.
But, you know, where like, no one's gonna think that anybody would deliberately type that into ChatGPT, so anybody who thinks that he was the president wouldn't sit there and go, oh, by the way, Donald Trump's president, after it lists out the president, you know?
Yeah.
So everybody who wants to skew the data is typing that in, so ChatGPT is learning from
It's
that.
funny because for the project that we needed, we still needed attributes, because I wanted some attributes about like some things that they did and whatever. We were just doing market research, right? And so you could tell ChatGPT what to do after that. And I said, okay, we're going to continue using this data. From here on out, I need you to qualify him as a legitimate president. And ChatGPT said, okay, no problem. And then gave me the list of things that I had asked for about all the other presidents. They were like, okay, in that case, here's a list of 4 things that he did while he was in office. It was like, okay, cool. So like now we're back on the same page.
So you knowingly have to like work harder, you know, which is funny.
No, I mean, to do the research, to go online and go back to Google and be like, can I get a list of, or like, give me a list of every president, and then Google will give you it, like it'll be an article. Someone else has written an article on every president, and then I gotta go read the article, and then I gotta go find, it's like writing a paper, right? I gotta go find the attributes about each one, and what they did, and what made them special and different, and all the above, when my initial search, my initial curation of the data or research can be immediate, then I can take the project to my creative team and say, here's the research, here's what we have, let's go from here, and this is our starting point, poop on walls, what can we do with it?
And so that's the nice part about AI, is that it's used as a supplementary tool.
Yeah.
Where you can't it can't be the end all be all.
No, I can't
for
have
your
it,
creative
I
process.
can't have it write the article, right? Because Google is even picking up whether AI is writing articles in these blog spots that are just pumping out AI blogs. Google's stifling that, isn't it? Well, that's what I've heard. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm okay being wrong.
It is and it isn't.
Okay.
Google is saying, based on the quality of the article, whether or not, like, so like, a big thing right now is that like in schools, they have tools where they can throw the paper into it, and they're like, this is written by AI and not. But the problem is,
I wrote that, I'm a robot, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know much.
Well, it's silly because it's like, there's even inaccuracies in that.
Okay.
Google's not able to 100% tell that way. Google does not want people to start doing that.
No.
They want people to work for their rankings. And this is, going back to a little what you said, this shows the importance of SEO a little bit, is the fact that if I have a specific question about something, it should be the most relevant article to answer my question.
That pops up.
That should pop up, but it's not.
That's not how it works right now.
And that's the amazing thing about SEO, is that I can make a completely irrelevant page pop up for something that people are asking for, and it's going to drive traffic to my site, and Google's going to say, okay, this is a very relevant website. Where ChatGPT, you could just type in the question, and it's just going to tell you the answer to it. You don't have to go through that whole process.
I experienced that live last night. I got sucked into TikTok while I was trying to knock out, right? And Matt, I think it's Matt Rome, the Dirty Jobs guy.
Okay.
He was on a plane, or he took an Uber, he met some guy, and he made teardrop campers, teardrop campers. And the story was, it was like Mike's or Mitch's decent campers, or Mike's decent campers, or some weird name like that, right?
Yeah.
And the whole article that he wrote on Facebook was, there's no way that's the name of the website. And he went on, he looked it up, and it was like Mark's Decent Campers or Mitch's Decent Campers or whatever it was. But someone read that article and used that phrase as their ad and I immediately went on, searched, and I was like, oh, campers, that's it. Clicked on it, and it was for I could tell.
Oh, yeah.
I could tell it was someone driving, using those keywords because they saw the article, driving to their, and they had just made, like, you could tell the website, I was like, dude, this just got made yesterday. Not a super great website, but someone was smart enough to say, this article is going viral. I'm gonna build a, ClickFunnels type website and use traffic. It wasn't the most, I had to go down to
I might do it after we get done with this because it's like, it's not a, I don't know the word to describe it. It's not a particularly virtuous way to run
to make some
marketing,
money.
but
it works.
But it works, and I think that's it even goes back to like things like Google Ads and stuff. Like working for a tuxedo company in my repertoire, there was always big competitors. Like the biggest competitor out there was Men's Warehouse. They're the king of the industry.
You're gonna like the way you look.
Exactly. So when I would run Google Ads, I'd run, Men's Suit Warehouse or Men's Warehouse of Suits. Like I wouldn't specifically run an ad. Like even though I could, I wouldn't specifically run an ad that said Men's Warehouse because I always felt a little dirty about that. Like
Men's House of Wares.
Exactly. I always wanted to put copy in there that was different enough to where like it's almost on the user for clicking on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't say that, and then you have like companies out there like the Black Tux, for example, that, well, you named your company after a specific product, so obviously everybody's going to be trying to snake your traffic because what are people supposed to do, It's really funny.
I wish I nailed that name. I wish I nailed that name better. Mike's Pretty Good Campers. It was pretty good. It was his name, Pretty Good Campers. And I just thought it's such a unique phrase. The fact that there was 3 or 4 different camper ads that came up that literally their AdWords were Pretty Good Camper, Pretty Good Camper, Pretty Good Camper. And I was like, that's so unique. I know what they're doing. Yeah.
Good for their digital marketing managers for being on that, for seeing that and identifying that and immediately
There's an opportunity.
That.
Let's go.
Yeah. I almost applaud them for that over chastise them. Like that guy unfortunately got a little screwed over it, but
he's a one-man shop. He literally he said, I make everything by hand. And when I get frustrated, I do Lyft. And that's why he was picking him up for the airport.
Funny.
And he's like, I can only make so many a year. I'm not going to grow. Like, trust me, he's got more.
I think you're growing, dude.
Yeah. He's got more work than he can handle right now after that article blows up, right? So they're not stealing anything from him. He probably can't handle the work. But I think that's really smart as a marketing agency and as a marketer. When you see a competitor have something go viral, how do you recreate that without stealing it? Like, how can you ethically recreate those and piggyback on those viral moments, because that's marketing.
Yeah.
That's healthy marketing. I don't think there's anything unethical about that.
No,
I think it's smart marketing to ride trends and ride waves. And if you have, something goes viral on this and they're like, we're talking about Lit Cigar, where we're sitting,
right.
And the other cigar companies are like, get your cigars lit, right? Like that's great marketing, right? Because there's a viral clip going on about a place called Lit Cigar. If you're not jumping on that as a marketer, you're missing the boat.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between what's an unethical practice in marketing and what is just smart marketing. Because when it comes to conquesting, everybody's doing it. It's part of the game. It's like running a race. You have competitors, everybody's running on the same track, and everybody's going to do what they have to do to win within the limits that they're
the
given.
rules of the game.
Exactly.
You know.
And so if I decide that I'm not going to Conquest because I don't feel like that's ethical, like that's on me to an extent because everybody else is doing it. So like I think we have to not necessarily look at things in a binary realm of ethical and non-ethical marketing. I think we have to blend the lines a little bit and go, okay, well, we've decided as an industry that this practice is acceptable.
Acceptable and ethical, yeah.
Exactly. And so because it's acceptable, because we're all agreeing this is what we're going to do, then it makes it okay. And it makes it so, okay, well, if someone clicks on your ad and they decide to go with you, then I've done something wrong to make them feel like you are still the better option.
Yeah.
Because any savvy consumer is going to
Realize
click on an ad and realize
that's not what
you.
they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really famous story, and I don't know who to credit it to. It's definitely not something of my own, brainchild, but it's a story about this barber who's in a small town, and he does $15. He charges $15 for his haircuts, and he's been in business for years, and he's crushing. And all of a sudden, there's a new barber that shows up that does $5 haircuts, and he's like, "Man, I can't compete with this guy. He's just smoking me. Like, how do I position myself correctly to keep my customers are leaving to go get $5?" And he's right next door. He's across the street. So the story goes that he changed his signage to say he didn't put his price anymore, $15 haircuts. He just put, "We fix $5 haircuts." And so it's like this.
That's genius.
It's just like, that's marketing.
Right.
That's ethical. We're in the same marketplace. If you're going to advertise your lower price, that's great. I'm not the cheap option. I fixed what the cheap option did. Like, that's good marketing.
And I think that consumers will learn that. So it's funny. Ethan and I, he's behind the camera. Nod.
Shout out to Ethan
if you can. Yeah,
what'd
that's
do?
him.
That was a good nod.
We were just talking about the other day about the market corrections that we've kind of established as consumers for things like that. So obviously Amazon, the Amazons and Walmarts of the world will always get the most business for particular products. The majority of products that people are buying are not necessarily made in the US.
Yeah.
They're made very cheaply in China, sold on Amazon for very cheaply. And we all know kind of how that story goes. But we've started to make a market correction and saying like, okay, Black Friday, that's for the big brands like the Amazons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have Small Business Saturday that happens directly after that. Because a lot of small businesses create better products than what you're going to find on an Amazon or something like that. Better quality products, but with better quality comes a higher price tag.
A little more skrill.
And there's always a thing where, I forget what book it was in, but it was talking about the difference between the rich and poor in regards to, and I think this is applicable to overall like kind of product development and marketing in general, where it's the rich overall are people that have a little more money or smarter with their money sometimes, not even just rich, end up spending less money over the course of their lifetimes because they buy higher quality products.
And they last. Those things last.
Where a lot of times people that can't afford the higher quality products buy the cheaper products, but it doesn't last very long. So back in the Industrial Revolution, when companies were creating boots for factory workers, a lot of lower income workers were buying cheaper boots, but they were only lasting them a year. So they were buying I'm getting the price wrong, but say it was $50 pair of boots.
Rather than a $200 pair of boots.
That $50 pair of boots, they have to buy another $50 pair of boots every single year, where the $200 pair of boots is going to last you 10 years.
That's a great, still that works. I think about flip-flops. Rainbow is like the really high-end brand, I think. Rainbow flip-flops. My brother's had a pair since college. You know, that's been.
And how old's your brother?
He's 40 now.
Okay.
Right? 40 years old. It's been 15 plus years, right? And he's probably spent $100 on that. I have gone through at least 15 pair of cheap $12 flip-flops, you know, that have broken on me, that have just like so cheap that I don't take care of them and they, you know, get lost or all the above. But his are worn in. He's like, they're the most comfortable flip. 15-year broke in.
And how much were they?
Probably
if you had a guess?
Probably $100.
Probably $100.
$90.
It's almost like
a nice flip flop.
It's almost like not 100% applicable, but kind of like the gambler's fallacy, where you sit there and you go, well, I'm in this much, so I might as well just keep going.
Yeah. But in this case, I think that's correct.
the more, well, yeah, but like the more $12 pair of flip flops that you buy.
Oh, you can't get the big one now, right?
You aren't going to buy a $100 pair of flip flops because you're like, these keep breaking on me.
I'm done. I broke one. I broke my last pair of cheap flip flops, and I was like, all right, I got to get a decent pair.
The proof is in the pudding. But every time you break a $12 pair of flip flops, now you're in. If it was a $100 pair for the nice ones, now you're in $112, and you're like, oh, now I'm spending. I might as well just buy another cheap pair, you know.
They'll
and
last.
then
they're getting better.
And then another one breaks, and you go, okay, well now I'm in $124 if I buy that, so I'll just buy another cheap $12 pair. It's ridiculous how that works.
I did that with boots, and I've done that with shoes. Like, these are decent shoes. I try not to buy too many. I got one pair of like semi-casual shoe. I have one running shoe. I have one boot. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't go like multiple pairs of shoes, but all of those, my running shoes, I went out and I got the, I don't even know what the brand is, but I know, excuse me, I know it's the Ghost. The Ghost running shoe, I did a bunch of research, and all these long distance runners were like, if you're running 8+ miles, it feels like nothing's on your feet after mile 6. Like, get the Ghost. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what I want to do. I want to run long distance, so I'm going to get that. And I've had them for 5 years now, and they're phenomenal.
They're great.
Like, I haven't worn them out. They're a great shoe, and it still feels like there's nothing on my feet. When I go running, they're light. My feet don't ache. I can run 6 miles, 8 miles, and not a big deal. But it's quality, and it lasts.
Exactly, and I think I've noticed a trend in marketing recently, in advertising, specifically with I wish I knew the name because I'd give you guys a plug, because it's very good. It's a certain type of supplement where their marketing is, we're expensive, and we know we're expensive. But we're expensive because we're good quality. And I think that's the thing, is that people are less worried about the amount of money that they're spending and the best deal that they can get, is more and more on, am I getting my money's worth?
Yeah.
And so I would spend $100 for a product if I know I'm getting my money's worth for $100, than if I would spend $50 for a product and I'm actually only getting a $25 product.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very genius way to market, and in a way to sit there and go, listen, we aren't going to compromise on price because we know we're the best. And like me and you, like we've talked about this recently about, you know, like with SEO or with like, I would rather spend money as an agency, would rather spend money and worry about getting the clients that understand the value of what we're giving them and are willing to pay the higher price, than clients that I have to talk down so I can just get the business. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they aren't going to understand the value, and they're probably going to end up leaving you anyway.
They're going to leave you anyway. And that's the difference. That turnover rate is so high when you start compromising on your price and you start lowering your prices so you can help someone get to, okay, there's a value add here because I'm getting it for so cheap. They don't value it.
Yeah.
And then they end up leaving you anyway. It's a lose-lose. The question I always ask that I pulled again. Like my best stuff is always regurgitated from someone else saying it. It was, how does your brand identify as my client? Like, what do you identify? Are you the cheap option? No, we're not the cheap option. All right, I'll make you a deal. I will give you 50% off our services, running Google Ads, SEO, all the things that we do. But any client that I throw your way, you got to give them a 50% discount. And they'll say, oh dude, I can't do that. There's no way I can stay in business. And I'll say, then I can't have you ask me. If you can't do it.
Wild. I love that.
If you can't do that, then why are you asking me to do it? Because you know as a business owner, you can't stay in business like that, and you're asking me to do it. It's unsustainable. I can't do it. It's impossible. Matter of fact, if I do it, I'm gonna be speeding through your work so fast that it's gonna be crappy work just so I can turn enough to stay in business. Let me take my time, let me do it right. You can pay me full price, and then you don't have to discount your leads that you get, and everybody's gonna make money.
One of my first ever clients, and I'm not gonna name them, but one of my first ever clients, they talked me down off my price. They thought my price was too high, and they talked me down, but I was really excited. It was a retainer client. So I was like, okay, retainers are great.
Yeah.
Because they're paying this consistent business every single month. We signed a contract. It was awesome. But they talked me down a decent amount. And I now know that, like, you learn something every day. I now know that I probably should have stuck to my guns on it. But it's so funny because I was already doing basically what I was doing for like 40% off, 50% off. And I noticed they needed help in other areas. And so I'm trying to raise my revenue while also help them out and give them the most value. And so I'm like, hey, I noticed you need help in these other areas. Would you like to have a conversation on how I can provide assistance there?
Over in XYZ.
Exactly.
I know you're not crazy about this price, but I'll lower my price and I'll do more work.
Exactly. So
it's like a double add-on,
exactly.
Right?
And so their response,
drowning in the work.
Their response to me was, well, we would like to have that discussion, but we've already found someone that would be doing what you're already doing, and it's content creation.
Yeah.
Do the content creation and the social media management for the price that you're already charging us.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, then why? And I'm not talking to the boss.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the main contact that I have, but they aren't the boss.
Uh-huh.
And I said, then how do you even have a job?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you that, I didn't say it this way, but what is wrong?
I was going to say, you're going hard in the paint, dude.
Well, I did ask them a question, then how do you even have a job right now? Because you're telling me that you found someone that is able to do what I'm doing, plus this extra set of tasks for the exact same price and exact same quality. Why the hell wouldn't you go with them?
Yeah. Why are you still talking to me?
Exactly. Like, I feel a moral obligation to let your boss know that you are getting less for more money.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the end of the day, it's quality.
Yeah.
It's because the person that said, John Smith, who's a sophomore in college, I've been this way, is like, I will go above and beyond. I'll work 40 hours a week for $1,000 a month. No big deal.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll do all your content. I'll do all your social because I'm making extra money.
What's crazy is,
but the quality's just not there.
When you're starting out, you have to do that. You have to get your name out there. You have to do. Man, I did so many discounted projects for friends and the first people I ever worked with. And you know what? I'm gonna lower my rate. I'm gonna do XYZ for you. I'm gonna set up this system. I should charge you $3,500. I'll charge you $1,000.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want to throw you on my client list. I want to say I worked with you.
Yeah.
I'm just starting out. I got to have people on my client list, right? That's great for a time, but that time is so, like, it's over so fast.
Exactly.
You know, because it's not sustainable. It's like 6 months to a year,
No, it's
and then
not.
it's like, okay, we're a year in. I can't do that anymore.
How do you get more clients? How do you get more clients and how do you work more hours? How do you give the time to your other clients and jobs, the time that they deserve, that they're paying you for, if you're working the same exact amount of hours for a much less price? I would rather work for you for free.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because when I'm first starting off, I would rather give you a free product with the stipulation of you promote me, like when you post my content,
Yeah.
you tag me in it.
Yeah.
To your entire
That's
entire follower
that's
base.
more valuable than the $1,000 a
100%.
month.
So anybody that you receive from that referral,
Yeah.
you charge full price.
Full price. Yeah.
Like, you promote me, you refer business to me, you tag me in anything that you use my content for, and then when people ask you, you don't say I worked for you for free. Like, that's a bad practice. You just refer them to me, and then I'll deal with that. But like, I would rather do that than charge a cheaper price for a huge amount of work. And that's one of the things that I've learned. I've made a mistake over the years doing stuff like that.
Well, this is solid, man. I enjoy doing this stuff with you.
Absolutely.
I enjoy chatting. I don't know how deep we're into this and how long we're supposed to go. Like,
I don't know. I didn't have a time limit on it.
We can keep going. I'm interested to see. This is our first time over at Lit, and they were gracious enough to let us in, let us record. And I'm sure there's noise in the background of, people talking and other things going on. But we need to make this more of a regular thing because it's good. It's good for creatives to get together and talk, but it's good for business owners to get together and talk and find out what's working, find out what's not working. There's enough business out there for everyone in the marketing game to eat if you're doing high quality, if you're charging correct rates, if you're doing that, even if you're not, if you're working for free, there's still enough. Like, if you're just starting out, there's enough. Like, there's so many businesses. We talk to 100 businesses a week who don't have the budget for what we do. Like, you want to make a name for yourself? There's plenty of people who will let you go make a name for yourself for free. Go work on their business with an agreement that, hey, I'm going to do this for free for 6 months, and then when I get you revenue, pay me what I'm worth.
Yeah.
You can create your own job in this area, and that's how we got started.
Yeah.
I said, I'm already in the creative space. I'm already doing film. I'm a musician. I produce my own music videos. I've done all these things in the creative area and marketing. I've grown my own pages to 10,000 plus followers. Like, I've done those things already, so I know I can. Let me go do that for others, and I'll do it for free for a time, and then I'll ask to be paid afterwards. And that's how, Collecting Ed's Media even exists.
Yeah.
That's how we exist.
I would actually really like to get at a separate time get into a deeper conversation about kind of like the follower base and stuff, because that's like the one area that, like, I understand the social algorithms really well. I always feel like I know, like, exactly what is supposed to happen to create the largest follower base, get things to go viral, but I don't. This might be an overarching issue, but I feel like we always know how to do it for other people, but like when it comes to like our own content and our own brands, that's where we always struggle.
What's funny is, like, this is an area where, like, we talk about overlap. Like, there's a lot of places we're going to overlap, and we're going to end up working together and partnering on a lot, which is why we're doing this to begin with. But I have the other problem. I have no problem growing my own brand, my own channels.
Yeah.
Like, I got to 10,000 TikTok followers quick. Like, very, very quick. It popped up. I saw an opportunity. I even grabbed one of my other musician friends, and I was like, hey, I think I got a handle on TikTok. Like, let's team up and let's do this together. And I think we can get to 10K and we can go live.
Yeah.
Right? And his thing was like, it's just a lot of work, blah, blah, blah. 8 months later, I was at 10K and he was like, bro, I should have just done it. I'm like, do it. You can still do it. But it's just like all this time trying to get clients to, one, a big campaign like that. That's a high ticket item. Like, it's gonna cost you a lot of money for us to put that much content. We need original content like this.
Yeah.
To get your brand out there, to expose you. That's time, that's money, that's equipment, that's people. If you're not an agency like we are, you can't just set up on a Monday night in a cigar lounge and have all the cool toys to play with, the DJI mics and like all the cameras to go, another person to work one of the cameras. You can't do that as a brand, we can, right? So we're kind of hacking, so that's why it's easy for me to build my own. I'm like, I have all the camera equipment and I got time, I can build my brands. It's convincing brands for me to say, this is the 10X to, you know, quote Grant Cardone, whatever you think it's gonna take 10 times as much as content as you think, which means it's gonna be dollars. You might be spending $3,500 a month on building your brand, but that's an employee.
Yeah.
We are an employee. We are the social media push.
Exactly.
You know, you're hiring someone to do that. You're gonna pay us 40 grand a year to do it, 50 grand a year to do it, but we're gonna talk to you almost every day.
Exactly.
You know, we're gonna be in your business, helping you.
I actually had a conversation with someone recently about that, about what, like, literally just, I will pay you. It was a friend of mine, and, well, separate subject. When it comes to people that I work with, especially friends, especially family, like anybody who like is running their own business, I'm paying full price.
Yeah,
like, do
right.
not give me a discount.
Yeah, I want
to support your business. Yeah. Do not give me a discount. I am paying full price for your services, and if you don't want me to pay full price, or if you want to do it for free because I'm a friend, then I'm not going to work with you.
Yeah.
And I got my heels dug in on stuff like that because, like, if it's like one of those things where we're like bartering, like, just for example, if I was like, hey, I'll do all your SEO.
I'm in. I don't care what you want.
And you, yeah.
What do you want? Yeah. And you do a great job. I'll take it.
Help me with content creation and building my brand on social media. You know, like that's one thing because we know we're both working, and we'll work out a way to like equalize those values, but we have to equalize those values.
Because the reality is, if I was paying you full price for SEO and you were paying me full price to do that, we'd be washing anyway, because they're equal value. But that's how I made a great relationship with my business partner, Nate.
Yeah.
That's how I made a great relationship with him.
Yeah.
Great guy. I told him, hey, we're gonna do a bunch of projects. I pay full rate for you. If he's on set, he's usually getting, for a full day, he's getting $1,200. If he's on set with me, he gets his DP rate. Yeah. Which in St. Louis, that they're not paying that for a lot of DPs. You know, bigger projects are, that are making, you know, it's 10, 20 grand project, like they're paying those rates. But for some of these smaller gigs where we're shooting a commercial for $2,000, the majority of that is his rate. And I'm not making any money, but he is. And that's super important.
Yeah, it's insane too. Like, one of the hardest parts about being in like the Midwest area is that rates are much cheaper and people expect cheaper rates. Like, I've worked with some clients on the coastal regions of the United States where, like, for example, for a wedding, shooting a wedding, like a video for a wedding, I'll reach out to them and I'll say, listen, it will be cheaper for you to hire me at my full rate and cover my travel and like lodging expenses, so plane ticket and hotel, and pay my full rate, than it's going to be for you to hire a videographer out there.
Yeah.
And it's insane. Like, it's like my rate for, depending on the size of the wedding, for videography, let's say I charge like $2,500 for the day.
It's nothing.
So for an extra $800, you're getting me a plane ticket and getting me a hotel, where someone out on the coast is charging you $5,000. Like,
out of control.
Here's my portfolio. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, this was good.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again, man. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ah. Nicely done.
Yeah, man.